Hello, today I'm going to be talking about weaponizing observations, and this is going to be part of a series that I'm going to create called Intimacy Destroyers. And so, weaponizing into observations is absolutely an intimacy destroyer, and these things we are doing these things unconsciously, and I'm going to show you what they look like. I'm going to show you in this video why, what to do instead. These can be very unconscious that we just do them naturally. We don't even give a thought about them, especially when we have generational patterns of this. And so I want you to recognize them. I'm going to bring them to your conscious mind and where you can review them and resolve them. So my name's Rachel McLeod. I'm a mental health therapist and an emotional wellness coach, and I specialize in helping people do the brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And I have a specialty in complex PTSD recovery. And the brain has a really beautiful process resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And that process gets stopped and blocked, and there's brain work to get that open and running and moving for us. And that process resolves symptoms. If process is blocked, we don't get our symptoms resolved. We don't get the connection, the love, the fulfillment, the satisfaction that we can have in life, because the parts of the brains that are designed to help us get that actually can't do what they're designed to do for you. And so I spend time in sessions and in all my online courses teaching people how to get this process open and running, and so that they can get their brain to really make their life wonderful and resolve all these symptoms for them. So that's a little bit about me, and but I want to talk about these weaponizing observations. And so weaponizing observations starts happening when we observe things about each other and then we turn them into weapons and we shank each other with them. And so this is and intimacy. The definition of intimacy that I want to use for this video is into me see. And so intimacy occurs when you see into me, right? And I see into you. That is intimacy. And we want to take intimacy super deep. We want to see into each other deeply, deeply, deeply. And that's really where, when we deepen it, we get more connection, more fulfillment. And then we deepen it again and we get more and more and more. And we're like little wells of potential and connection and depth. And when we have these intimacy destroyers, we will go the opposite direction from depth of intimacy. We will go more superficial, 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 and we will keep things superficial. And we're saying, don't see into me. And this is one of the things what creates space. Right. And when intimacy isn't safe, we're going to create distance and space. This is happening with all kinds of relationships. So I don't want you just thinking about romantic relationships, but this is absolutely a feature there. It's one of the reasons why romantic relationships can't go any further and why they end and they break, is that there's not enough intimacy to help create expansion, wellness, and because that's what intimacy will do. Intimacy helps bring parts of us alive that have never been alive before. When we put attention on something, if you've ever held a baby and you put safe attention on them, they'll light up. And that's their nervous system lighting up and wiring. We do the same thing. And so when when we keep growing in age, there's new depths of us that we want to wire and light up, and we want to wire that, and so we choose partners that are going to help us do that. And so, but a lot of us come from childhoods where we saw and experienced that intimacy wasn't safe and it wasn't good, and it would just create problems, because if people saw into you, they would use it and shank you. So intimacy equals a shanking. Right? Intimacy equals emotional wounding. And so that when we have that kind of pattern there, we're not looking forward to intimacy and we're kind of afraid of it and we don't really want it and we don't know how to get it, but unconsciously and neurologically we need it, because there's all these parts of us we need to light up and activate. This is how we expand who we are. And so it that so we have all these wild, weird, dysfunctional, unhealthy, unskillful ways of getting intimacy, but it's not the good stuff, it's not intimacy. So, it's more connection. We create trauma bonds this way. We create, dependencies this way, and we'll call that good enough, right? Especially when we have patterns of our generations in the past bonding through, dependency, wounding, trauma bonding, those sorts of things, then we're wired through the mirror neurons in our brain to just, oh, that's how you do it. Oh, okay. And then we go and do it and we find ourselves unsatisfied too. So there's lots of reasons how this got here, but intimacy is absolutely an amplifier of this to the self. If you can do an intimacy dance of any kind with a human, you're going to expand, you're going to grow, you're going to be healthier. So obviously, we want this to be safe, and we're out here weaponizing intimacy, right, with our spears. So I'm making light of this. This is very painful. This is a very painful topic, but we're going to keep it light because we'll understand it better. Okay, in real time, this knocks people out. This is awful. This is hitting people in the attachment wound. This is bad. I would love it if we could stop this immediately, but some habits and wiring are hard to resolve. But so if we're okay, so all relationships. So this is important for parent-child relationships. If you are weaponizing your observations with your child or your teenage child, you're going to be destroying intimacy, and you're going to watch them keep things more superficial, and you're going to watch distance be created. And so the solution here is to not weaponize to really take great care with your observations and use your observations functionally and constructively. And we'll talk about that in a minute. I was looking for that. I'm going to write that down. And so the more constructively we do that and we make intimacy safer, we're going to see the natural connection. Is safe intimacy is magnetic. So if we want to repair with children, we're going to make intimacy safe, and then we're going to keep that safe, and it will also take the relationship deep. And now we're getting more depth of intimacy, and that means more activation, more connection, more life, more expansion. And so this is important stuff. Now, this also has to do with your employees and with your supervisors and with your friends and with your parents and with your relatives and with your coworkers and your neighbors. This is all relationships. We don't want to be in a position where we're weaponizing observations. That's not the skill set I want you developing. I'm sure there's a time for everything under the sun. So the fact that you have mastered the skill is excellent. Let's put that skill on the shelf for just a while, and let's build some other ones, like how to use our observations constructively, safely, and I don't mean that facetiously. I'm not being a brat over here. I'm like, seriously, let's build some other skills. And I know we need all kinds of tools, so we're just going to set that one on the bench for now. We don't want to overuse something that is an intimacy destroyer when you want intimacy. So, so no shame in having that skill, but seriously, let's build some other ones. How to use your observations constructively, safely, in a healthy way, in a functional way. What does that look like? And I want you to know your brain will build this for you if you can help it by being conscious and considering and contemplating, putting attention on this concept, and in making sure you're in a regulated state. This is what I have my clients using interventions that provide safety signaling to the survival system part of the brain while we're having these discussions, because I don't want to just be doing the mental work. I want to be doing the neurological rewiring work at the same time. I like to double that up because there's a lot of work to do, and we can do it all together. The brain is already doing a million things all at the same time. Yeah, what's a million more? It loves that stuff. So I really like to connect that, and those types of interventions that I have my clients do. I teach my three favorite of those in my free program, Interventions for Inner World Transformation. The link to that is below, and I would love for you to try my interventions for this. So plugging that. But back to this. Um, so um, so we want to not just make the head change, we want to make the neurological change, and we want to make the subconscious change, because I want your subconscious mind automatically running, not I want it to stop running weaponizing observations on autopilot. Our subconscious mind runs our automated functions. I want us to have to go through the process of building your healthy, constructive, safe observation use. And then I want your subconscious mind to make a subconscious program for it so that it's automatic. And this is the cool part. I talk about these in stages, but your brain is already working on this. This is its process. And really, you'll watch your brain do this if you can get that process unblocked. So there's no magical extra step here. This is a brain function thing. It will automatically happen. You'll watch it happen, and you'll be like, oh, I just used my observations in a really functional way. So that, because the brain should be making this stuff for us, and it is. That's why we're doing what we're doing. We can willpower this, but it's not going to be as effective and natural for us and seamless as if we're running it from a subconscious program that we built. So, okay, let's talk about what this looks like in real time. So, in real time, okay, wait, no, I want to say one more thing. It is a big honor to see into someone's inner world. And when we go into someone's inner world, we want to be careful and treat that with honor. And that means when we're spending time and we're and we're communicating, we might see things that people are doing that just isn't very good, right? Maybe we're spending time with them and we see that they let their dishes pile all the way up. Or maybe we're spending time with them and we're observing that their desk is super messy. If maybe we're spending time with them and we see that all they do is complain about everybody is out to get me, right? So there are some observations that we see when we're with people that are not fabulous. And those ones kind of stand out to us. And those ones are the ones that we really want to hold and be very constructive with, very safe with. There are other observations that we're not going to think a thing about. Okay, and so those ones may need to be careful with those ones as well, but especially the ones that are going to bring pain, right? Or something that's undeveloped. Maybe it's not bad, but it's undeveloped, and it's going to be an area where they're growing, and it's going to be their growth spots. We want to treat areas of growth with respect. Like if you're trying to grow an apple tree and you just have a little twig, we don't go out and kick it around. That thing is going to become something amazing. We treat it with care, and we protect it, and we nurture it. We don't get out there and scream at it. And we also know that screaming at undeveloped plants harms them based on all the research out there, or the experiments. So undeveloped things, there's no reason to be harming them. And we want to treat that with respect. And then there's things that need to be let go of. And, we want to, sometimes pointing that out can be super helpful to somebody. They can't see it. But weaponizing it is going to be a whole different ballgame. And sometimes we want to use our observations to create growth, health, transformation, connection, collaboration. We want to use observations for problem solving. We want to use observation for very functional reasons. And they're usually change makers. These are the exact points where if we get this resolved, we're going to have a growth. Right? Or if we can get this resolved, someone's going to have a big jump in their mental health. If we can get this resolved, someone's going to have a big jump in how they're using their finances, right? And it's really helpful when somebody else sees stuff because we have blind spots. And so when we partner up with people, and we're doing this with children, and we're doing this with other adults, um, it's really powerful to have somebody point out things to you that you don't see yourself. It's transformational. This is I mean, people get paid a lot of money for this. This is a big, big deal. And it's a big deal in your relationships, and it's a maker or a breaker of healthy relationships. And so how this is done really matters. Um, the other thing is that sometimes we're doing this to cause harm and to maintain power dynamics. Maybe we have insecurities about ourselves and we see somebody else doing really well, and we're connected with them. We don't want them leaving us, and so we'll pull out launch some weapons of weaponized observations at them, wound them, and then they're out, and now they're back down to our level. Right? The humans have been doing this since the beginning of time. Um, this is not something that we need to feel a ton of shame on. This is something we just need to acknowledge and hold space for. I'm making observations, and I want to make sure they're constructive, and I'm putting some softeners and buffers because it's true. We don't need to be super horrified about this stuff. We learn this and we've mastered it like brains are designed to do. So, but it does help maintain power and control dynamics. Weaponized observations are part of power and control dynamics. And so we're staying connected by harm, by hurt, by pain, by wounds. And that's part of codependence. It's part of narcissism. It's part of many of our toxic relationship dynamics. So if you see weaponized observations, this is something to be talking about. This is something to be, I have a video called Say Its Name and Its Communication Principle. This is something to insert in that. You watch that video, learn about saying its name, and this is something that we want to address in real time. Outside of real time, we want to hold some beautiful space for, and we don't want to weaponize our observation that you're weaponizing observations, bro. Right? So these are things we want to have care with. Okay, and then Okay, some weaponizing observations are things like, let me come up with one. See, you always leave your dishes out like that. See, I observed that you leave your dishes out. Now I'm going to weaponize it. They were running through my head, so be patient with me. I'm going to get them out here. You're always so negative. All you do is think about yourself. Gosh, all this, you're such a victim mindset. You have such a victim mindset. Whew, that's a big one. Like, you know what? That could be really helpful. That could be a real thing that person's struggling with. What if we said, hey, something I noticed is that there seems to be what you're having is a lot of thoughts and attention to yourself as a victim, which I can understand because you had these experiences where you were a victim, but maybe that says that there's some inner work that you need to do to be able to move past this and to be able to grow. Or, gosh, you're such an attention seeker, gosh, what if you're talking about their unmet childhood needs for attention? What if you're talking about and to somebody who has a high need for attention, which we love that. We love some of these people. There are artists, our creators, our performers, and they actually need more, just like other people need more vitamin D levels than other people. And now you're weaponizing it. And so you're trying to separate them from their need for attention. Right? These are the unconscious things with our children. You're always coming home late. Why don't you answer your phone? Oh, what, right? We're weaponizing our observations. And so, and we're not always doing it all high pitched and with their body all tensioned up. We're doing it in lots of different ways. I personally have observed myself doing this in all kinds of creative ways. So and I've caught my clients doing it as well. This is not, we're not surprised. This is showing up. And some of us, our communication is so full of this, it's almost our communication is dependent upon this. If we take this out, we really don't know how to communicate. And that's okay, because this is something that we really need to put some thought into and some attention into and some processing on, and start evolving this so that we can have intimacy, because we need intimacy. We need intimacy like plants need sun. I promise. And so when we're talking about our constructive use of observations, we could give it in a way that the person feels like they're receiving a gift. We could um, we could choose to say nothing about our observations. That could be a huge gift. Just because we observe it does not mean we're entitled to say it. Doesn't mean that we get to put it on a non-consenting individual, just because we're so smart, right? Um, so that used to be one of my jams. So, and I've seen it. We do this. This is what we're doing out here, and um, so really, there's no good reason to weaponize observations. Um, and there are some times where no matter how well you say it, there's going to be pain. And you can be constructive about that. You can be supportive about that. You can be functional about that. There's a lot of tools and strategies with how you can give your observations. And I wasn't prepared to go through all of that today. So perhaps I will consider that in a different video. But I want you to start the process of thinking about this. And you can Google it, or you can discuss it with your friends, or you can talk with your partner or your child and say, how would you like me to deliver these observations to you? Sometimes kids actually don't want observations yet. They want to explore a bunch of things, see how it works, right? They think they know it all. That's a brain thing. We don't want to make their brain be something it's not. And so maybe they need to experience some things without us telling them all the things. You know, I don't know what your people need, but that's what we're doing with attunement. We're tuning into them. What do you need? How do you need this delivered? Can I see some patterns? Can we discuss some things? And this is something that can always grow in every one of us. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking of some ways for myself right now. This is something that we want to gain mastery. We want to keep growing in, and we want people to feel safe with allowing us to be one of their observers, right? I mean, if you married somebody, you're one of their witnesses, you're one of their observers. If you have children, you're one of their observers. And that's an honored, sacred place, I think. And it holds a lot of power. And I really am making this video to encourage us to use that power really for good, for healing, for construction. And, when we can't and we look inside, we'll find the reasons why. And that's a really good time to grow, to really use your interventions and just process that. That's really the process I use because I work with so many people with complex PTSD. We really need to manually operate that survival system, shifting out of survival mode into that processing state. We need to manually operate accelerating processing. And so I would encourage you, as you're doing this stuff, don't just leave it in your head. Do the mind body work as well, the brain work for resolving these things and upgrading. So um, this is a lot of stuff that I'm teaching in my program, Inner World Transformation. I'm actually teaching the neurology about how to become somebody who doesn't weaponize observations, and also how to hold boundaries with people that do weaponize observations. I teach a lot of that in my program, Inner World Transformation. Like I said, the description of that is below, and you can learn more about that and enroll and get started anytime. Also, I do help people with these types of issues in my one-on-one and small group coaching program. And when you want more of my personalized support, and also this is an awesome time for a one-on-one personalized consultation. I'll take a look at what's going on, how your brain works, how it communicates with you, and I'll give you a lot of feedback about that, so that you can navigate your healing journey more effectively and powerfully. So I'm here to help you on your journey. Learn about that in the links, and I'll see you later. Take care.